Hi, I've had a few people ask me, how do you actually draw a rich picture? So I thought I'd just record a quick video which gives you a little bit more direction on how to actually draw a rich picture. So just to remind you, rich pictures are pictures that can be drawn individually or in groups, and you can take, I would say, between about 10 minutes to really up to 4 hours if you want to really do a detailed and large picture of a complex situation. Although I would say somewhere between an hour and 2 hours is probably about right for most sort of strategic and complex problem solving. Um, in practice they're often quite fun, quite light-hearted, although obviously you can take it very seriously, and try and be very analytical. But the objective is to try and step back from the situation, to try and look at the situation as a whole, and try and get everybody, if you're doing it with other people, try and get everybody to express their point of view, how they see things, their values, and really try and get everybody to participate in the picture drawing if you're doing it as a group. And what's really important to remember is that pictures will always be personal. So I must have seen hundreds of rich pictures over my career, and really everybody does go about it in a different way. So don't try to make it the same as everybody else's rich picture. What you will find is that once you've built sort of probably half a dozen rich pictures, you will have started to develop your own sort of style for doing it. Um, Now, in terms of setting yourself up to do a picture, I would say this is an ideal setup. What you can see there is you've got a nice large whiteboard, so there's plenty of space for you to draw your picture. If you don't have a large whiteboard, then you can get flip chart paper and stick it on a wall. So about 6 sheets of flip chart paper stuck on a wall is a pretty good base to draw a rich picture. If you're doing the picture individually, then it's perfectly okay to get yourself a piece of paper, an A3 piece of paper or a flip chart paper, and put it on a table and sit down and draw on the table. So if you're doing it individually, you'll find you've got plenty of space with a large piece of paper if you're sat at a desk. Notice in the picture there that next to the whiteboard there is a flip chart, and you can't quite see it on the photograph there, but what that says is issues. So as you draw your rich picture, you will start to surface and identify issues, and it's really important to try and record those issues textually in a bullet point list as you go through your picturing, so that you remember and so that it's easy to record the session. So at the end of the session, you just take a photograph of the picture and a photograph of your list of issues, and then you're all set. And then you can write up a little quick report on the session if it's part of a project. So that's an ideal scenario. So a nice big whiteboard with a flip chart for the list of issues, or if you're doing it individually, a large sheet of paper on a desk, and a good quality pen. Now, in terms of what you're looking for, now, everybody's different in how they draw their pictures, and you will develop your style as you get into it. But initially, what I would suggest you do is try to capture the main elements of the situation, and it's going to end up looking something like the photograph there. So that's what I would call a very good rich picture. This was drawn by 4 people. It took somewhere between an hour and 2 hours to draw that picture. What you can see is, it's not a work of art. Most people are not proficient artists, so it's absolutely fine if your picture is a little bit scruffy. That's not the main issue in terms of drawing pictures. The main issue is try to represent all of the key elements of the situation. So what you can perhaps do, which is what these people did in this picture, is start with drawing the organization at the center of your picture. So I tend to put the organization in the center of my picture. I'm normally quite lazy with my pictures. I just draw a cube and I give the cube the label of the name of the business. These people have been a little bit more artistic and tried to represent the look of the building a little bit more accurately. And then once you've put the organization in the center of your picture, what I tend to do is put the clients or the customers on the right hand side or the left hand side of my picture, because at the heart of most organizations and most businesses is a relationship between the business and the population of customers. Okay, so I tend to put the organization in the center with the customers on the right or the left, and then try and represent the nature of that relationship, and also try and say something fairly basic about the population of customers. So are they segmented, or is it just one big segment? Can we say something about where they are? So I might draw some geographical representation of where they are. Obviously, if your customers are all over the country or all over the world, then you can perhaps try and represent that in some way. If there are certain key features of the customers, you can try and represent that on your picture. So once you've got the organization in the center and you've got your customers, then you can start to build up the more environmental aspects around that center. So those environmental aspects, they might be competitors, they might be something to do with the economy, it might be sort of more socio-cultural aspects. So whatever the key environmental drivers or constraints on the business, you can try and represent them around your picture. Okay, and once you've got that, once you've got the organization and the customers and then the environmental features around, you've got a pretty good basic representation of the organization. And then you can sort of start to try and pick up on any issues. So you can actually deliberately start asking people, so, do we have any issues? Are there any key aspects of the business? And then you can start sort of systematically trying to represent those issues or key aspects as best you can. You try and fit those into the picture. So here's another example. So this was a picture that was drawn by me. This was a project that we did for the Department of Transport. What we were trying to do here was innovate a particular process that was run by the DVLA on behalf of the Department for Transport. So what you can see, because what we're trying to do here is innovate a process, not do strategy for the business, I've actually put the process in the center of the picture. So if you look in the center of the picture, what you can see is there is this process in the center there. So in this particular situation, what happens is that the general public, if they have medical conditions, then as part of their consultations with their healthcare professionals, so that they might be consultants at hospitals, they might be GPs, it might be nurses, it might be occupational therapists, or a wide range of other healthcare professionals. As part of their consultations, then they should get advice on fitness to drive if they are suffering from a particular condition. So obviously anything to do with the eyes, but obviously also a long list of other medical conditions which would stop somebody driving. So you can see on the left here of the picture, I've put the customers, if you like, of this process. So that's the general public. and they have a wide range of medical conditions. So I've put a list there at the bottom there: diabetes, stroke, head injury, dementia, and they have the general public in general have a wide range of sort of views or awareness of medical standards on fitness to drive. So they have consultations, they get advice, and at that point they should inform the DVLA, who then should process their request. So at the top right here of the picture, what we see is that the DVLA has a group called the DMG, and their job is to develop these medical standards, and they have experts from a wide range of medical standards, and they develop these medical standards, and then they promote those to healthcare professionals, mainly through the internet, but also through various types of educational processes. And the healthcare professionals in their consultations with clients should give advice which would lead to them informing the DVLA, who would then try and decide if they should still be allowed to drive or not. And they'll either allow them to drive or they'll take their license away. Now, over here in the bottom right of the picture, I'm trying to represent more environmental features, which was actually the various stakeholders that have an interest in this process. So we've got insurance companies, we've got the police, we've got charities who try and support people with medical conditions, the British Medical Association, there's Parliament, who obviously make laws in relation to fitness to drive, Department for Work and Pensions, who are a relevant government department for this system. So you can see that the basic sort of idea here is that I've got the key sort of process in the center of my picture. I've got the customers or the clients of this process on the left hand side. I've got parts of the process represented here, and the key sort of central concern here is what happens in consultations, because one of the key drivers here was trying to encourage healthcare professionals to give advice on fitness to drive. And then we've got environmental features here, which is actually stakeholders. Now you can see I've drawn this little sort of eye to represent that there are stakeholders observing this process. Okay, so that's how I've built up my understanding of the situation. So notice it is a situation. I'm not trying to draw a particular problem. I'm not trying to develop any solutions here. I'm simply trying to represent the situation as it is and try and identify potential issues that there might be with this picture. So as I was drawing this picture, I can actually start to make notes of what the issues are within the current situation. So my rich pictures tend to be all a bit like this. I'm what I tend to call a helicopter rich picture drawer. So it's like all my pictures are as if I was sort of hovering above the situation, looking down, and I'm drawing what I would see. So I see the building, I see the customers, I see the environmental constraints. But everybody does it in a different way, and obviously I'm very analytical, so I tend to have a very analytical style of rich picture drawing, but other people are more sort of metaphorical. Some people are not as structured, so they don't try and make their pictures, all sort of structured properly as if they were being looked on from above. They tend to sort of be more sort of brainstormy, and they let it sort of develop more organically. That's okay. Sometimes if your picture gets very messy and very sort of the structure starts to go out of control, then sometimes it's a good idea to redraw the picture later when you've kind of understood what the structure should be. So this picture, for example, was not the original picture. So once I'd done the original picture, it was a bit messy, so I redrew it because I wanted a nice tidy picture that I could put in the final report. So if you do want to show other people your pictures or use your pictures as a way of communicating things to other people, you're probably going to have to draw it again in a more tidy version. But if the objective is just to let people express their views and sort of identify what are the key issues with the situation, then you don't need to redraw your picture, because actually the list of issues is the thing that you want. So my advice is just to have a go, grab a sheet of paper, think of a situation and just have a go. And trust me, by the time you've drawn 6 rich pictures, you'll have started to develop your own style, and you'll be perfectly happy with this. I've seen, hundreds and hundreds of students develop that skill, and many analysts and clients, and really most people, once they've drawn even a couple, are actually quite confident that they know how to do it. Okay, I hope that helps.